Epilogue. I wish you could see the world through my eyes, Part 3. Pyrrhus's Legacy. 6 weeks went by, and a small group of people arrived from the First Nation. Eunyalus had sent them to find out why the water source had stopped. They were instructed to be cautious of Dragatu's people, and if unsure of what to do, they were to report back. When they approached the hills, they saw the desolation, ashes, and destruction of the water channels. The message was clear. It was decided not to venture and check the water source. They reported back instead. Eunyalus and Phenon discussed the findings and agreed to leave Fretta's people alone. Another water source would have to be found. Years went by, and Fretta's people were thankful to be left alone. They began to build their new nation and used the granite they had salvaged, and quarried more from the northeast. There was less space at the canyon's entrance to the water source, so the buildings were smaller and built close together. They melted down a lot of unum, and the majority coming from all the unused inatus left behind. It was used to decorate houses, as jewelry, and for trade. As the years passed, they became intoxicated by the desire for justice. However, for fear of being outnumbered in a fight, Fretta and the Coriol Honora kept everyone's desire to act under control. They tried to come up with plans, but they were too risky. All they could do was make sure Pyrrhus and his generation continued Dragatu's legacy. They hoped he, or his descendants, would have the numbers, or a good plan to unleash the fires of justice on Eunyalus and Phenon, or their descendants. The desire for justice still included getting the Book of Prophecy, and Fretta told Pyrrhus about it often. The Coriol Honora continued to teach the Book of Law, and made sure the laws were kept with exactness. They were so strict that it wasn't long before people were punished with public beatings if a law was broken. Everyone accepted this because to them the harsh consequences were only just. Honors died 5 years after they moved, and Fretta decided to lead. She taught Pyrrhus his duties as best she could, but counted the days until his 18th birthday. Journal entry, 30th day of the 5th month, 721st year. My name is no longer Pyrrhus. I am Dragatu. I've inherited my birthright. So many years I've waited, but now it's all mine. Finally, my father's legacy will continue through me. Last night, I lay on my bed, full of anticipation for the next day would bring. It wasn't until the early hours that I finally fell asleep. I had dreams of my father, dreams of fire and creatures I had never seen before. When I woke, I knew these creatures were dragons. The images were so clear they burned themselves into my mind. The last thing I remember was what my father described in his journal. I felt heat in my heart, and then it spread to my whole body. I woke and sat up very fast. I was covered in sweat and touched my face to make sure I was awake and not still dreaming. I rolled my legs out of bed and sat on the edge. The shock faded, and I smiled. I could feel and see a change. I was by no means small originally, but when I looked down, I knew I was taller. My muscles were larger and stronger. I burst out laughing with joy. When I thought about controlling fire, I stopped. I've studied my father's journal and know what I must do, but I have doubts. What will happen? Will I be as my father was when he first got his gift, and be tired and have to practice? Or will it be as I want? Will I have the same great power he did when he died? Mother is going to be angry that I have these doubts, but I'll speak to her and try the gift for the first time with her. Actually, I'll tell her I wanted to wait to show her, and not share my fears. This way, I'll have her there to give me courage, but she won't be angry with me. I'm back from speaking with my mother. On the way, I saw myself in the mirror in the hall. I look incredible. I'm large and powerful and in a strange way majestic. The first thing I noticed was my eyes. I had almost forgotten these would change as well. I stood there, staring into my own eyes. The dark red irises were hypnotizing. I had a few faint memories of my father's eyes, and mine were identical. I smiled at the sentiment. I wondered if I looked like him. In my mind I did, but I couldn't be certain if my memory was true. So I left the mirror and found Mother. As I entered the kitchen, she had her back to me. When she heard me, she spun around. Well, she said in an excited voice. But when she saw me, her face went blank. She walked towards me with her hand outstretched. I wasn't sure what to do, so let her touch my face. All of a sudden she smiled. Forgive me, Dragatu. You look so much like your father. I mean, you always did, but now you look even more like he did. How do you feel?" "Very good," I said with a grin. "I've waited so long for this, and now I have what I've always wanted." "Have you used your fire gift yet?" "Not yet. I wanted to be with you when I tried for the first time." "Thank you," she said. My lie worked, and having her there gave me courage to try. She took a wooden bowl and placed it on the floor between us. I looked at it for a few seconds. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Nothing," I lied. I found some courage and concentrated the way my father had. I imagined it burning. As I did, I felt the heat in my heart. It swelled like it did with my father, and finally escaped through my eyes. Straight away the bowl began to smoke, but as quickly as it had, I felt exhausted, dizzy, and lost my balance. I fell onto my knees, then onto my face. My next memory was of my mother pouring water into my mouth. As I opened my eyes, I shut them again. I knew what had happened and felt so angry. I have to start from the beginning. I'm still so angry. I wanted to have great power at the very start. After I recovered, I drank and ate a lot more than I usually do. Mother knew my frustration and said with hard work it would become easy. I didn't want to talk about it and left. I came here to my room to write what had happened. Using the gift should have been easy, but I will dedicate myself so I can increase in power quickly. Then I will show the people and be their true leader. They will respect me, and I can find a way to finally have justice. I will find a way to return and get the Book of Prophecy. I will learn the secrets of how one person can have the other gifts, read all the prophecies, and discover why the gifts are the key to returning to the Creator. I can also get my father's Anatu back. I will use it to kill those who took my father from me. I've missed out on so much because of what they did. I see others my age with their fathers, and I envy them so much. I will inflict pain upon my uncles. I'll be powerful, and will return to the First Nation to have our reparations. Mother doesn't want me to go, though. She says our numbers are too few, and justice may not be achieved in our lifetime. I struggle to believe this. They cannot be stronger than us. I've seen our people fight on the competition days. We are strong. I know she's wise, but she underestimates us. She says the First Nation has tens of thousands of people, and they would overpower us. Surely they can't have that many. I'm going to return alone and see the First Nation for myself. I'll watch from the forest that Mother say are in the west. Then I'll know the truth and decide what to do. But for now, I must strengthen my gift. Journal entry, first day of the 6th month, 721st year. I've told Mother I'm going to the First Nation. Please don't go, she begged. It'll serve no purpose except put you in danger. Please trust me. I have to do this, I said with difficulty. I have to see them for myself. Maybe the destruction of the water project has made them weaker and ripe for us to punish. After a lot of arguing, she accepted my choice, and I'm going to leave in 2 weeks. Before I go, I'm going on a long hunt. This will let me practice my gift away from everyone's expectations. Hopefully I'll be able to start a small fire with ease before I get back. I'll be able to show this and my new strength to the Coriol Honora and begin to lead them and the people. Journal entry, 17th day of the 6th month, 721st year. I've returned from my hunting trip. My gift is easier to use, but I still have a long way to go before it's effortless. I've packed for my long journey, and Mother has drawn a rough map. The path she's drawn is where the old channels were. I'm to follow it until I see fields, then head southwest. I'm to stay as far away from the First Nation as I can, and eventually I will reach the forests. They will give me cover, and then I'll turn south, walking a day's journey. I can then go east and see the First Nation from the forest's edge. Mother told me to be aware of the animals, as Unala's gift means they might tell him if they see me. I'm taking as little as possible, so I asked her to keep the journal until I return. Journal entry, 15th day of the 7th month, 721st year. I hate having to write this. I was wrong. How could there be so many people? When I emerged from the tree line to see the First Nation, I saw so many buildings. It took my breath away. All I could see were endless rows of houses and people going about their business. I was so angry and frustrated. They looked healthy. There was no sign the loss of the water project had hurt them. I decided to go to the original reservoir so I could see if it was full or not. I took cover in the forest and went north, staying close to the edge. As I saw more people, I began to despair. I found the reservoir, waited until night, and then crept out. It wasn't empty, but neither was it full. I hope this means they only just have enough water. Maybe in time they will suffer, but I want it now. Knowing they had enough added to my growing despair, and it peaked while at the reservoir. I realized my mother had been right. I couldn't bear the anger and frustration, so I left, making sure I had enough food and water for the journey home. It's hard to admit I was wrong, but I've had a long chat with Mother. I've promised her I'll teach the next generation the way she has taught me. They'll be prepared to do what needs to be done. I'll always try and think of ways to do this myself, but I don't see how. I will continue to update this journal, and new ones will be made for every Dragatu. I make a promise by every vow ever uttered or possible, so I will continue to plant seeds of remembrance. One day they'll grow, and these good people will reap justice for the pain, loss, and suffering we've experienced. They'll have the Book of Prophecy and learn its secrets to obtain power untold. With this power, they'll unite the people the way my father wanted. They'll live in a way that helps them keep the laws with exactness. All these things I promise will come to pass. I will keep my promise, Father. I will keep my promise, Creator.